Welcome back. We're thinking about reasons why this approach to email might not be correct, might not be the right approach. And to start thinking about those reasons, I want to refer to our second reading, which is the memoir of the late Donda West, Kanye West's mother. And in this memoir, Kanye relays a story about his mother, Donda, who has the added benefit of also being a professor, telling him that language is situational. And to communicate effectively, you have to speak so that people can understand you. So what are some reasons why we might push back against this approach we've been talking about? Well, design thinking and leadership more generally is all about challenging assumptions. So what are some assumptions that we saw in that email template that we might push back on? And again, this is just a list I came up with. You might have come up with more lists on your own. But we're at a small liberal arts college, and our approach to email, our relationships with our students, might be different than the ones at the big research university like Professor Portwood Stacer's at. Tying together this lecture with some of the philosophies and ethics you'll be talking about in Core 130 and Core 210, maybe we should question why we're even having this lecture. Maybe you, as students at a women's college, have been socialized to genuflect or be demure, and maybe we should stop and ask, would a lecture on email exchange look the same at Hampton-Sydney? Maybe we need to take a step back and consider the social norms and the social mores that are even leading us here, and perhaps push back against those power structures. And finally, maybe me along with your professors are just old. There's a plasticity, there is a flexibility to how language is used and how it's used in electronic and novel forms. And maybe the emails of tomorrow or whatever replaces it aren't going to look like the templates I showed you today. Maybe what I showed you today is proper email form for someone like me who's been emailing since 1998, but is not going to be what proper form looks like moving forward. So with that thought, I want to bring us back to where we started, which is design thinking as a process. But this process is not so straightforward. It's a non-linear process. And once we've used this foundation of empathy to define a human-centered problem, we can ideate, we can prototype, we can test and test again and prototype again and build on this process ad infinitum. And it's through this nonlinear process that I hope the genuine insight comes through. So with that, let's close out our lecture with the second part of our activity, which is using these design thinking principles, revise that initial email draft you wrote, and send an email to me. Be sure to think about who I am as a person and what you want to get out of this email, whether it's, an introduction or forge a relationship or to ask for something. And be sure to include your original draft and CC your instructor. With that, I want to thank you all so much for your attention. Thank your faculty again for inviting me. My email is up there if you want to both complete your assignment, but also pose any questions, comments, or concerns. I also wanted to take one final moment to recognize those citations, those sources that I used in this lecture. Thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you on campus.